Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the Tool Belt, episode 311. I am your host, Ty Cobb Backer, and thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. Stay tuned. We will be back right after a short intro from our sponsors.
GC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. GC Backer.
Welcome to Behind the Tool Belt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Ty Cobb Backer sits down to bring you the stories, the struggles, the lessons learned, and the wins. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the Tool Belt, Ty Cobb Backer.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Behind the Tool Belt, episode 311. One more week. We are a week away from our 6-year mark, 312. 312 is the big one, and we have some special things coming on, and we've been doing actually a couple of special things for the past few weeks. We've been dropping hints. We've been, dropping some teasers, running some promos, that were, guess who's coming on the show. And today we are finally going to roll it out. This guest is someone I followed for years. Someone whose books have shaped not only our business, but my personal life and how I lead at home and how we lead here at work. And, someone's, whose principles I've tried to pass down, to my friends, my colleagues, my family, even my kids. His work has literally changed the entire trajectory, of my life, how I lead, the quality of person I want to be today, and how I sell to how I serve and how we build relationships. So we're going to roll it out.
Our first guest of 2026 has sold over 1 million books worldwide, helped create one of the most recognizable leadership philosophies of the last 15 years, taught entrepreneurs from Fortune 500 companies to small business owners, and has been featured on major business stages around the world. His work has been translated globally and continues to shape how leaders communicate, build trust, and grow. A best-selling author whose work has inspired millions. Introducing Mr. Bob Burg.
Consistency. Hey, we live in an inconsistent world, and yet we as human beings crave consistency in others. In this business, how many times have you heard why McDonald's is so successful, right? We know it's not because they have the best hamburgers in the world, but they are consistent, right? That holds a very high value with people. And I would say this, when you communicate excellence and consistency, you're communicating extremely high value.
And that's right. My man, Bob Burg, the legendary Bob Burg, co-author of the Go-Giver series, author of Endless Referrals, The Art of Persuasion, It's Not About You, and several other books. Bob will be our first guest of 2026, coming on episode 315. And I couldn't be more honored to have this gentleman on our show. And I guess it's a true testament to consistency. Not that Bob necessarily noticed us, but felt confident enough in us and our abilities to bring him on our show to share our stage with us. And in turn, hopefully we can share his stage. So I'm pretty pumped about that. And today's episode 311, we're going to be shining a spotlight on Bob's teachings, the mindsets, the principles, the value-based approach to how this has transformed my life and honestly can transform yours as well. And and Bob's books was one of those books, where like every once in a while I'll go through a slump and I'm just not picking up what authors or podcasts, I'm not feeling it. And Jana sometimes will refer books to me and the one book that she referred to me was, Barnice. Oh man, my mind just completely went blank. But long story short, I think 2 or 3 years ago, she recommended Dare to Lead, I think, by Bar. Oh man, I am freaking screwing this up. Jana posted in there in the comments of who he referred to me. Anyhow, it took me about 3 years before, and I tried reading it. I tried listening to it. And I just, for some reason, I wasn't there. I wasn't receptive at that moment in my life, the season of my life, to receive her message. And I tell you, I've listened to at least 3 of her books. I read one, Daring Greatly was the book. And man, it's giving me goosebumps right now. So I was kind of going through one of those slumps, and I picked up The Go-Giver. It was the first book, and I don't know if somebody recommended it to me or if it showed up on something that you may be interested in. Also, one of those things. So picked it up. I started reading it, and it hit me right between the eyes. I felt like he was someone who could articulate what I've always believed in my gut. Like I felt it. But he packaged it in a way that finally kind of gave me a roadmap. And for me, that person was Bob Burg. I read The Go-Giver, years ago, and something inside me clicked. The idea that success isn't about taking or chasing, but giving value first. And that resonated with me deeply. And I realized, this is how I've been trying to build my life. This is how I wanted to lead my companies. This is how, I want my kids to grow up thinking. But Bob didn't just give me the warm fuzzies. He gave me the framework. Literally, he has written out, the 5 laws of stratospheric success. And now I'm going to review some of them today. And I interpret things a little bit differently. And if Bob's listening to this, he may be cringing, or may cringe after. And this is me, hopefully not butchering up his work too much. But I tend to interpret things a little bit differently, and it plants seeds, and sometimes it applies to me today, and sometimes it doesn't click till years later. But one of the books I want to say I might have picked up Endless Referrals first. I think I maybe was digging to see what other stuff Bob wrote back then, but I don't remember. I think the first time his first edition of Endless Referrals came out in 1993. I actually carry around with me the 2006 third edition of Endless Referrals, where he explains that people doing and a lot of these things that I'm going to say today, you're going to know where exactly they came from. And one of the one-liners is where he explains, that people do business and refer those that they know, like, and trust. And that's one of Bob's biggest lines. And I'm sure a lot of my coworkers have heard me say that dozens of times over the years. And that's where I got it from. I got it from Bob Burg, Cat's Out of the Bag. And if you build that, build it that way, build your business that way, it becomes unstoppable. And I'm a true testament to that. And I owe a debt of gratitude to, Bob, and I actually get to talk to him on a podcast in a couple of weeks. And man, it's rather mind blowing. So anyhow, if you haven't heard of Bob Burg, now you have. I highly recommend, I highly suggest any of his books, whether he's got the whole Go Giver series. You got to see a little clip of it on that clip that Vic ran earlier. One of my other favorites was The Art of Persuasion, where he teaches the influence isn't about, being pushy or manipulating or overpowering. Because I've seen a lot of salespeople who are very pushy and overpowering. I've seen it. I've done it. I'm guilty of it myself. We try not to lead that way today, especially in the sales department of things. It's about understanding others. It's about respecting their needs. It's about communicating in a way that connects, right? And these books didn't just, help me as a CEO. They've helped me as a father, as a husband, as a leader, all these things, and there's many, 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 many other influencers out there. But the way that Bob kind of like pulled a whole bunch of things, Dale Carnegie's lessons and, many, many, many other people over the years, things that I've read and listened to, he kind of pulls them all together, and he's been doing this stuff a long time. But today I want to break down some of his exact principles to the best of my ability from Bob's work and what that shaped who I am and how you can apply them in your home improvement company. And not just business owners, this goes out to everybody. All of these principles apply to everybody and anybody who deals with people, and it could be your family you got to deal with. It could be your team, your coworkers. And I plan on giving several more of these books out this Christmas to some of those close to me. And I've given them to my friends. I've given them to my colleagues. I've given them to my own children to read. And that's how impactful they have been for me. So you can, hopefully after today, you'll be able to apply this into whatever aspect of your life, whether you're on a sales team, you're a sales leader, you own a home improvement company, whatever it might be. But the core of the Go Giver is built around five laws of stratospheric success. And today I want to walk through my interpretation of each one and share how I've seen it show up in real life. I mean, it's mind blowing. And unfortunately the cat's out of the bag, and I should have probably never held on to some of these nuggets as long as I have, but I am learning that what I have learned is meant to be taught. So here's the beginning of this new journey that I'm on today. So law number one, it is the law of value. Okay. You've all heard me talk about value, and the true worth is determined by how much more you give in value. Okay. Than you take or receive in payment. And that's one of Bob's biggest, you'll hear that in several of his books, the 4 or 5 Go Giver books, you'll hear where he talks about the true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. And that's huge. It's huge. And if you can live that way, things will definitely change and turn around in your life. Sales will pick up, referrals will pick up, all the good things that we're using as vehicles to have a better impact on the world in which we live in today. So that's huge. Okay. So in the roofing space, okay, or any home improvement trade, people often think the value is actually the product that we sell or that we're installing. It's not the shingles. It's not the siding. It's not the gutter whatsoever. Okay. What it is, it's the real value that they experience. Okay. It's in the experience. Okay. It's how the homeowner feels when we show up. It's communication we provide. And a lot of this we went over last week. I started to drip some things out last week. It's in the trust in several weeks. Every week we probably talk a lot about this trust. is a big one. It's the trust that we build. It's the peace of mind that we create, especially in the roofing industry, right? And that's where value skyrockets. Okay. When a company lives these principles, customers never feel like they paid too much. Okay. They feel grateful that they found you. That is the law of value. Okay. So law number 2, it's the law of compensation. The law of compensation is your income. I wish you've been getting dry here lately. Somebody cut a big hole in the wall. It's freezing in here, so we had to turn the heat up. Anyhow, law of compensation. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. That's the leverage you have over your competition. Okay. If you can make someone feel like you really truly listened, you really truly understood what it is that they're going through and help them find a solution to their problem. And that's the silver bullet to any successful business is finding people's pain and having a solution for it. There's a lot of companies that are just a want that are out there serving as more so as a want. And you'll see a lot of those want companies start fading, especially under economic stresses and things like that. When people just don't have the money, their wants seem to be put on the back burner. But those businesses who have found the solution to people's problem, like roofing is one of those industries where we have a solution to many people's problems. Hence why we have been able to sustain, along with all the 5 laws of stratospheric success. So the law of compensation, your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. Okay. And it scales. All right. Serving one person exceptionally is great. Okay. But serving hundreds or thousands exponentially, exceptionally, is when your impact and your success skyrockets. Okay. And we do a lot of things around here, a lot of not just public charity events, and impact comes in many forms. And the time that you spend with people, understanding, listening to their problems and helping them identify a solution is value. It's free, and it is probably the most precious commodity is time. And we talk about that a lot. We definitely talk about that a lot. And I've seen this firsthand, building teams, building TC Backer, building other companies. I've seen it happen time and time again over the years. And like I said, Bob has given us the roadmap to all of this. The more people that we serve, the more value we create. Okay. The more opportunities flow back towards us. Compensation follows contribution always. Okay. And again, contribution happens in many forms. It could be you working for a company, being on a crew and not giving pushback, showing up every single day, being the go-to person, being responsible, being relied upon. Okay. And the more that you contribute, the more you get compensated. That is just the natural, universal, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just, it's, I don't even want to call it karma. It's just, that's just how the universe works. Okay. Law number 3. Let's jump over to law number number 3 here, the law of influence. Okay. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interest first. Okay. And I'd like to think that I lead by pretty good example on this one here. But that doesn't mean be a martyr. That doesn't mean you're keeping score. I think that's the big thing too, because I've done that. I may still do that at times. It depends on what kind of space I'm in or what mood I'm in or how badly I feel like I was taken advantage of, because that's also put me in a place to be taken advantage of. And that's not necessarily the other person's fault. It's that I allowed that to happen. And I didn't set a deadline. I didn't put a timeline on it. And I'm getting better at that. I'm getting better at having people meet us halfway. And that's really what it's about. It's not necessarily putting yourself last, and being a freaking doormat. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make here, is putting other people's, needs in front of your own, because you can interpret that word, because unless you've experienced it, being a doormat, and putting yourself last, I've done that and have struggled mentally over that, my health, my spirituality. And then I tend to get a resentment and get pissed off at people because I guess I'm expecting a return on my investment. Right. And sometimes, that can lead to a bad relationship or difficult conversation, or I act poorly. But what I think it means is, focus on helping other people win, lead with curiosity and not ego. Make them the hero, not you. Okay. And that's a tough one. In sales, it means asking questions and then shutting up and actually listening. All right. And then leadership, it means developing people and not controlling them, and that's a tough one too, especially if you're early on in entrepreneurship or just younger. I think a lot of that stuff that we just mentioned comes over time, trial and error, and surrounding yourself around people who are leading their people well, and asking them the right questions on how do you deal with certain situations. Because the way that we used to run things around here is it was hard for me to ask for help. And we're going to talk about that a little later here in the last law. But every strong relationship, personal or professional, is built on this law. Is built on this law, and we can share these on here too after the show. I'll go ahead and post all these laws on the show and my interpretation of them. If you guys want, I can do that for you. But law number 4, the law of authenticity. Okay. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. Getting back to time, right? And this one hits home for me. Okay. We had the opportunity to take care of my mom several years ago before she passed away. And, really, I think all my mom wanted was just more time for her to spend with us, time for us to spend more time with her. And back then is when I realized how precious the commodity, right, of time is. So that's the most valuable gift you can offer somebody is your time. And when I started in business, I thought I had to be, a certain way. I thought I had to talk a certain way. I thought I had to lead, a certain way, sound polished, sound professional, sound like, the people I saw on TV or at the trade shows or whatever, magazines, on podcasts and things like that. But authenticity is my edge. Okay. Hence why we do Facebook Live. This is not edited right now. You get all the ams, the is, was mixed up, all the things that what you see is what you get. This is true authenticity right now. And that's what's so special about this show. One of many things that is so special about the show. It's the truth. It's our story. This is our story every week. This is our story. We share with you our journey. We share with you our scars. People don't connect with perfect. I found that out too. They connect with real, right? Authenticity is not just admirable, but it's impactful. It's impactful. We're not perfect, because people can feel when it's not real. At least I can feel, and authenticity is the gateway to trust. And that's what's so important about law number 4, right? The law of authenticity. It's just be real, be yourself, be a human being. If you're in the people business, like we're in the people business, just be a person, just be human. Okay. Law number 5. Okay. We touched on this a little bit earlier. It's the law of receptivity. Receptivity. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. And I freaking struggle with this. I struggle with it. It's the hardest law for me. And I know for a lot of us, people who love giving often struggle with the receiving part. Okay. I've watched my mom go through it. I've watched my dad go through it. I've watched friends and family go through it. I've watched myself go through, the struggle. I don't know how to take a compliment. I don't know how to receive gifts. I want to be the one, even at Christmas. I know Christmas is so commercialized, but I'm the last one to open the gifts, and the one thing that I've learned over the years too, like if somebody gives me a gift, I open it now while they're there. I used to kind of just push it over there and continue the conversation. And I wouldn't open the gift while they're there. And what I had realized, especially over Christmas time, is that my family is waiting and waiting for me to open the gifts that they had given me. And that I'm taking that joy from them, that same joy that I experience, okay, when I give somebody a gift and watching their eyes light up or watching them perform better at work or have more opportunity to grow. And I guess it's one of the many ways that I've been selfish over the years is taking away. And we talked about it a long time ago where, the company, not me, the company earns these awards. And I used to kind of just bring them back and, put them in my office and kind of close the door and forget about them. And one time, I don't know, it was a couple of years ago, we were over at the old office and it hit me like a ton of bricks, man, of how I robbed our team's joy and recognition for their hard work, their efforts that they had put into whatever it was that our company had received the reward. And I think my biggest thing is that I was trying to be humble. I didn't realize that I was actually being selfish and taking away from my team by not allowing them to experience the joy of the reward or award. What was I calling it? Reward? It's awards. Awards. Again, here is raw, live, and authentic as you can possibly get right here. And so now what we do is we try to take group photos. We post them on social media. So then everybody, the community, can enjoy our experience, enjoy the celebration of whatever it was that we worked so hard. And, when we started this journey, it wasn't about the recognition. It's not still today about the award, that we may receive or get recognized. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is nice to be recognized for the hard work, right? But that's not for me to hide it from the rest of the team. That's not up to me. So I've gotten better about receiving and allowing other people to receive stuff too. There's two parts to that. It's kind of twofold, right? So the law of receptivity, and people love giving often, but those of us that do struggle with receiving part of that. So because it makes us feel like I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to owe anyone. I don't want to look needy. And I've said all of these things to myself. I mean, I don't know how many times. I don't want to bother them. I don't want to burden them. I got this. I can handle it. But giving and receiving are part of the same flow. That was the thing I didn't understand until I read this book by Bob. is that, if I'm not receiving gifts, I'm blocking off the flow, that reciprocative part of giving and receiving. It's that natural flow of the universe, right? If you give, you must know how to receive. It's almost like forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, right? If I can't forgive somebody, how am I supposed to expect them to forgive me? So it's just that universal law, I think Bob calls it the circulation of value. So anyhow, again, I'm sure I'm butchering this thing up pretty good here, but the more you give, the more you must be ready to receive. Okay. And in business, relationships, opportunities, whatever, none of them work if you shut down the receiving end of it. Once I learned this, everything shifted. It really has, so that's the 5 laws of stratospheric success. I want to touch a little bit on one of my favorite books by Bob. One of my first books that I've read by Bob was I don't fucking know. Sorry, pardon my French. It is Endless Referrals. So Endless Referrals is not just a sales book. Okay. It's a blueprint actually for building a business that grows effortlessly. I guess let me put this simply. The heart of it is one sentence. It's all things being equal. Okay. And we talked about this all the time, and you've heard me say this all the time, but people do business with and refer business to those they know, they like, and they trust. This is universal. Okay. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. Doesn't matter if you're in the roofing industry, the flooring industry, the car sales industry, the HVAC, the coaching, it works everywhere. Okay. And the thing that I've read was why am I hemmed up on that right now? People need to feel seen. Okay. Not sold to, not pitched, seen. Okay. We need to talk in terms of other people's interest. Okay. This is straight out of Bob's playbook. Okay. And Dale Carnegie's as well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Dale Carnegie. I'm sure a lot of people listening or who will be listening to this, How to Win Friends and totally forgot the name of his book, Influence Others. It's another good one. But if you want to be interesting, then you need to be interested, right? And I think that's right out of Dale's book. We talked last week about, and I think we talked about it yesterday in yesterday's meeting, is follow-up. Follow-up is everything. And there's many compartments to that, but our fortune is not in the first conversation, okay, that we have with people, especially if you're in sales. It's in the 4th, the 5th, or the 6th contact point, the follow-up. That's where it happens. And I talked earlier too about not keeping score, right? Like serve without keeping score. Plant seeds today. We talk about that all the time, that we can water tomorrow and today, plant seeds today, and that we can harvest next year. And that's exactly what we've been doing for the past several months here is planting those seeds. I know Ben and I have talked about it. I know Vic and I have talked about it. But creating that value based touch points, right? Reach out with things that can genuinely help people, right? It could be I don't know, introductions to maybe they needed an electrician, right? We don't do electrical work, but we got this guy over here does all of our other work. We'll introduce you to him. Opportunities, tips, answers, engagement, just engage in the conversation, and these touch points build relationships before the sale. And I think a lot of people just try to go out and do the one call close. We got to do the one call close. And it's like, okay, that works, I guess, if you're down with that. But it's about the touch points. It's about building the relationship before the sale, which makes referrals natural and consistent. This approach has helped me build the companies, where referrals are not a bonus. It's not a bonus. It's our foundation. And the other good book too is The Art of Persuasion. And being the selfish, self-centered person by nature that I am, I'm like, ooh, I got to read that one. Right. And persuasion is such an interesting word. Most people think it means, get someone to do something that we want. But in the book, Bob flips that upside down. He says persuasion is helping someone willingly move in a direction they already want to go. Right. And that hits different. At least for me, it does. And I want to share with you a couple lessons that I've learned from the persuasion framework. And one would be, people make decisions emotionally and justify logically. Okay. In the home improvement space, nobody buys a roof because of a feature. Okay. I mean, yes, we have different warranties. Yep. We have different thicknesses of shingles and things of that nature, but they buy because of fear of leaks or desire for security. And that's what we do. We perform security, right? We protect their shelter, and logic supports the purchase. Okay. Emotion drives it. Okay. And we need to be in tone, right? And we need to get in there and we need to seek to understand with questions like, what's most important to you about this project? Okay. When's the last time somebody actually asked that question, right? Tell me more about your concerns. What would be a great outcome? What does that look like for you? Right. And when people feel understood, they feel safe. I know I do. I think about this every time I'm trying to be sold to. How are they making me feel? Do I know them? Do I like them? Do I trust them? Right. Am I trusting what they're telling me? Do I feel safe? Is this, I don't know. And I don't know how many times I haven't bought something because I didn't even understand what the person was trying to sell me. They talked in circles or the word salad or whatever the case might be. It might've been a great product and it was probably the best thing I probably should have ever bought, but I didn't get the warm fuzzies, right? People want to feel understood, right? They want to feel safe, right? When they feel safe, they move forward. And that's exactly the point that I'm trying to talk about is that if I feel safe, I'm going to move forward. If I like the individual, people buy from people, right? And so try to mirror their communication style. Okay. Some people want more details. Some people want big picture visions, right? And that's what I need. I need to kind of see it and touch it. Some people like bullet points. They want to know exactly when we're going to be here and what's the process and all those things, but we got to learn how to read what they're seeking. And sometimes they don't even know. Sometimes they want stories, they want referrals, they want, show me pictures of jobs that you've done, and Project Map It. Give him a little plug here. He's got a great program where we can, on a map, can actually pin every single project that we've done and put pictures in it. So try to adapt to them, not force them to adapt to us. Right. And I used to struggle with that. I used to try to get them to adapt to me. And, you just got to slow down, take a deep breath and try to adapt to their behaviors and, try to figure out how they want to see things presented to them. And always give people an out. Okay. Give them an out. This is huge. Okay. And where I've read in Bob's book, one of his famous phrases is, I may be wrong. And I started using that. I could be wrong. Only do this if it feels right. That creates a psychological safety and ironically makes people more open. And the other thing is too, is like make the other person feel in control. Okay. And I hate when I feel like I'm out of control. Like if we're going to buy furniture or anything like that, like if the person is so overwhelming and overbearing and pushy and all these things, man, it's like, I feel like I'm not even in control. I almost like this defense mechanism pops up and I put my wall up and I'm just kind of like, all right, no. I don't even know what I'm experiencing, but that's what it is. I don't feel safe. This guy's just running his mouth. He wants to make the sale, and it's just too pushy. And he doesn't give two shits what I buy. He's not listening to what size is your living room, what color pattern are you going for, like all of the things, right? To make it an enjoyable experience. Like he's really listening to me. He's really asking the right questions. He really wants us to have that daddy chair that when I come home on Sundays and watch 30 minutes of a football game before I pass out, like he's not listening. You know what I mean? So, and I've learned this. I've just because I've watched other people's behaviors and stuff like that. But if a customer believes that they're in control, they'll make the decision. Like I don't feel like somebody's trying to make this decision for me. And persuasion is not about winning. It's about alignment. Okay. Aligning, and this is just leadership 101. This is sales. This is parenting. This is marriage. This is everything. Everything that I'm talking about right now, you can apply in all this stuff. And why this matters for us home improvement leaders, you might think, how does this all tie back into, roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar? I'm going to tell you, Bob teaches service over selling. Okay. We're not necessarily selling people here. When your company embodies service, right? Your reviews go up, your referrals start to explode. Your team becomes proud of the culture and our brand becomes unstoppable. Okay. And I think we've got the experience. We're all experiencing a lot of this on a day-to-day experience here. So, and his work has really, helped me, with building the company and, while being a better human being, not a sleazeball, no pressure, just influence with purpose or integrity, whatever. And his work has also helped me communicate more effectively. Teams want to follow leaders who care about them, right? And Bob gave us the framework for earning the trust. I reviewed a lot of it, and hopefully I didn't butch it up. His principles build long-term business relationships, and in our industry, long-term is everything, at least in my experience. His teachings have made me a better person, not just a better business owner. And that's why episode 315 with Bob is going to be life-changing. It's going to be life-changing for me. And I hope that we can impact a lot of people in the ways that this has impacted me. Before we wrap up today, I just want to say how excited I am and how grateful I am that we will bring Bob Burg onto our show in 2026. This is truly our biggest guest ever, and someone who has shaped my life, leadership in ways I can't even begin to measure. If today's episode resonated with you on any level whatsoever, if you want to build a company based on trust, service, influence, and value, then make sure you clear your schedule at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time for episode 315. In the meantime, pick up The Go-Giver, Endless Referrals. He's got five books he co-wrote with, I think it's John David Mann, the Go-Giver series. And then he wrote 8 books, other books. And I mentioned a couple of them Endless Referrals, The Art of Persuasion. These books aren't just for business. They are life's frameworks. They truly are. And thank you for hanging out with me today for episode 311 of Behind the Tool Belt. Much love to everybody, our viewers, our listeners, our team, and our partners. Whew. And thank you for continuing the climb with us. I'm your host, and I will see you on the next episode.